Maybe like overnight you grew from like 1 employee to 50 employees. Like we see all of that. The big thing that we see that gets overlooked is not shifting and changing that stuff as you grow.
Like as you grow, you're going to have more risk. You're going to have like, you have 2 employees versus 200. There's going to be a lot of stupid stuff happening when you got 200 employees. Having more coverage is probably a good idea.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to ABA Business Leaders Podcast, brought to you by 3Pi Squared. I'm April.
I'm Steven.
And some days are just really hard to record podcasts. You know what? Let's just be real. This is take 6, 7, 8,
10. Yeah, probably
6, 7. Sorry. You guys probably hate me for that. We actually enjoy 6, 7 in our house because it annoys our tween. So, yeah. Any other parents out there who like to annoy their child? So okay. So here we are. Steven's reading email. See, I'm telling you, some days are just hard to record a podcast. You would think that people who like to talk, that would be me.
Yep.
Could just pick up the microphone and start to talk. And people who are very passionate about their business, that would be him, would be able to just we talk about this is like our life, right? And my brain feels like it's very caught up in its own neurospicy space, and sometimes that makes it harder to get words out and to focus and all of those things. And so here we are, and we're just gonna go with it.
That's
how it is.
Yeah, we gotta just go.
And so it really is kind of fitting of our topic today.
Okay,
but I'm not going to tell you the topic yet. First, I'm going to introduce the Back to Basics series.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So this is where we go back to the foundations of running an ABA business. Whether you're dreaming about starting a company, already running one, or preparing for what's next, we will meet you where you are. And the truth is, the earlier you start working on these foundations, the better your chances of success and the fewer problems you'll face, the smoother your growth will be. So just like in clinical practice, early intervention makes all of the difference. So each episode of our Back to Basics series, we focus on one core business topic, and we talk about what it means for when you're starting, for when you're scaling, and when you're transitioning out. So no matter where you are in your journey, you'll walk away from this podcast with clarity and next steps. You may also walk away from this podcast thinking, okay, I'm not the only one that has a hard time doing the things. I don't know.
No.
Right?
No.
So today's topic is the unsexy but essential stuff, aka the garbage list. Not garbage, but it's the stuff that's hard to do just because it's dull and boring. There's no passion behind putting an application for a DUNS number or let me get that business agreement template written up, right? But you have to do it, right? You just have to, right? If you want to run a ethical, sustainable, successful company, you need to do those things. Yes. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but then that's going to put you in the category of being chaotic business owner who's a mess and putting out fires all the time.
I don't know that you could even avoid some of this stuff, right? So I'd be curious to see what would happen.
I mean, it's kind of I guess dishes and laundry, right? Yeah. Although some of these things are somewhat one and done.
Yeah.
And then we'll go through as we go through the podcast today, and we go into those past, beyond, see, words aren't happening today, beyond the first segment of starters, but like those existing businesses for growers, like which one of these things or do we need to like go back and check on and think, so there may be a few of these are an ongoing thing that you need to check on. But some of these, once you do it, like you can actually check it off of your to-do list, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those would be things like, getting your DUNS number. Once you get your DUNS number, you've got it, right?
Yep.
I would assume.
Yeah.
Your business bank account.
Yep.
Getting your LLC.
Yeah. So let's talk about the LLC. So many states you can get an LLC, but there are going to be some states that require you get a professional limited liability. California, you need a professional corporation, I believe. Some funders are not allowing LLCs to get in network. So that's just something that you need to know. Texas, I went through it with the state back and forth, and they were like, oh, well, we can't tell you what you need to sign up for. And like, dude, you created the law. You can't tell me what to do. They said I need to talk to an attorney. So after the back and forth there, I believe you do need a PLLC in Texas, but I know there are a lot of LLCs in Texas that are ABA companies. So my recommendation to you all is talk to an accountant or a business attorney that understands what kind of legal entity you need to be. And then you'll get your EIN after that. So you're like your tax ID. And that will be for the Fed. And then you can be, this is where, we talked about last time, like, should I be a partnership or should I get an S Corp or should I get a C Corp? That again is going to be determined by, the number of people that are joining this company. My accountant recommended S Corp versus a partnership. I've seen some accountants recommend a C Corp. So, you're just going to have to talk to someone knowledgeable about this before you make some of these decisions. Now, it can be changed after the fact, but probably be good to start this off correct.
Yeah, because like your certain tax information or tax things are based on it, right?
Yeah.
So if you do change it, which you can change, right? You can change the classification, but then you pay more money or?
Yeah, I mean, our accountant told us if you're not making any money, it's actually going to be beneficial to not be an S Corp. But once you're making a profit, apparently, again, I am not an accountant. I don't know what I'm talking about. But apparently once you're making a profit, then it does make sense to switch to an S Corp. So there are going to be some timing things there that you need to, again, talk to someone that understands what they're doing here. And that's the same on the payroll side of things, right? Like, having a payroll system is a great idea because there are timings. It's going to be quarterly at first when you're first starting out because you don't have much payroll taxes. But eventually, depending on your size, you're going to have to start doing this biweekly more than likely. So these are things that you just want to make sure that you're doing right based on your company.
Yeah. So also something you'll need to do in the beginning is to get a business license. And that might depend on where you live or where your business is located. If you need to have like a city or county license, what types of business licenses you like because I guess there's different categories. Like when you apply for a business license, there's categories that you choose from, and that might vary from city to county to state. Am I right about that?
Well, you may need multiple business licenses if you're in multiple counties. So some states, from what I understand, they will where your address is where your business license would be in that county. But if you're traveling, if you're doing in-home therapy, so maybe you're traveling outside of your county, you may also need to get a business license in that county. And depending on how much revenue you're generating in that county, you may have to pay business taxes for your business in that county as well. So again, these are just things really important to get started correctly. So, and then another big one that we see is zoning. So again, not every state has zoning laws, but this is something that you need to check to make sure if you're like, oh yeah, this place looks great, now I'm going to lease it. Make sure that you can actually have an ABA company there, right? So, if it's zoned as an industrial, they may not allow you to put an ABA company there. And that would suck if you signed a lease and then you realize, wait a second, I can't do this. So that's something that is really important to check out before you sign a lease. So you can just go with the business address, right? And take it to your county's business, like the county's business group, and just see if it is zoned properly for your company.
So I mentioned earlier your DUNS number.
Yep.
What is a DUNS number for those who may be new to this?
Yeah, it's a Duns and Bradstreet. You can go to their website. It's free. If you're doing volume purchasing, like you want an Amazon account for your business, or if you're like buying like Apple apps for your iPads and stuff like this, and you want to be able to have your assign certain apps to your company iPads, you may need a DUNS number to get those programs. It's boring, right? And then the other thing,
it's like 10 times already.
This can also help with getting credit as well. Like, so instead of getting credit under your name, you'll actually get it under the company name. So if the company goes bankrupt, then the loan goes with it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And this would be the same, with business credit cards and stuff like this, because if you can get this without your name on it, then it's not, again, if something happens, then it's not on you to pay it back. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And what's a registered agent?
So a registered agent is like, we have a registered agent for our business. So like they will, make sure that your LLC is paid up and that everything on that business side for the state is set up right.
So how do you know who your registered agent is?
I mean, if you're in the state, so if you're just in one state, again, I am not an accountant. So don't take my word for it. Talk to a professional. But from my understanding is if you're just in one state, like our company it was in Virginia, right? We didn't have any other clinics in any other states. So we could be the registered agent. Does that make sense? But if you have like one in Connecticut and you got one in New Mexico and you have another clinic in Florida, then you may need a registered agent in those states that you are not in. And so they will like on your behalf, like be in that state to take care of your LLC or your PLLC or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's typically from what I understand.
Like especially important, like if you don't have a clinic in that state,
it doesn't matter.
But you have
no, yeah. So like I from what I understand, like you need a registered agent in any state where you're not in, like
by you as the owner.
The owner, yes.
like your company's there, but you're not residing in that state.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
That's the difference.
Yes, I believe so. And again, like you're talking to an idiot here, right? So like
You're not an idiot, but I know what you mean.
Yes.
This is to get the information out, and there are things that we find that we say like we know really well, and then there are things like some of this like stuff that you would need to ask an attorney or an accountant that we know enough about it to know that you need to get it and that it's important, and we can tell you all the things that would happen if you don't get it. But like the very nitty gritty specifics, definitely reach out to a professional.
And I will tell you, we have accountants that will help you set all this up.
Yeah.
We have HIPAA consultants that will help you set all this up. We have web designers,
as in like ABA business leaders, 3 Pi Squared, like we have all of these people in our team, but it
wouldn't be me.
Steven and April,
it wouldn't be me doing it.
Would not be giving you the final answer.
No.
But reach out to us if you need more clarification or if you have a specific need for your company, and we can get that.
And then one last thing on like all of these entities and business licenses and stuff like this. There are some states, New York is one of them. We talked about this on our news podcast. Illinois is about to do this, from what I understand, where the owner of the company has to be a professional. So in New York, you have BCBA has to own the practice. Now, there are ways to get around this. And so I believe they're called managed care organizations, MCOs, I think is what the name of this is. So there are ways to get around this where the owner of the company can be the BCBA, but then it can be managed by another company. It's all nonsense to me, right? Like it's just like, how do we get around all these things? But there are ways to do this. But again, you really need to talk to someone that has knowledge of your state to make sure that you have set this up correctly. And that's all. Like this is really, again, like it's just really important that you get this stuff set up correctly, right? That you have a PLLC or you have an LLC or you've got a business license in all the counties that you work in. If you need it, right? These are just things that when you're setting this up, highly recommend you're talking to someone that understands this stuff. So again, we have people that can help you with this, if you need it. It's just, there's a lot, and it's really important that you guys set it up right.
All right. Everyone get out and do 5 jumping jacks.
Yeah.
Cause we got more boring stuff for you. All right. So payroll.
Yep. So
you got to pay your staff. And even if you're like, depending on the business model that you have, if you are considered an employee and you need to pay yourself, you really need to actually pay yourself.
Correct.
You need to figure out how that's going to be so that you can set up that paper trail for that. And then if not, there are other ways you get paid depending on what type of, whether you're LLC or all that stuff, right? Yes. But regardless, you do need to be able to set up payroll.
Yeah. So like a common thing, again, I'm not telling you if you need an LLC, PLLC, professional corporation, let's put that aside for now. When you go to the Fed level, a lot of companies will be taxed as an S corporation. And then the way that you would be an employee of that company, and then you would get payroll. And so you'd be paying yourself and you would have to pay payroll taxes. So yes, you want to set this up. And again, if if that's the way you've set up your business, then you better make sure that you're actually paying yourself.
So like to register for payroll, like what does that mean?
Well, get like a Gusto or a Paychex or something like that, right? They'll help you set up all of that stuff so that you're paying payroll tax to your Fed. If you have to pay payroll tax to your state, right? Like they'll take care of that.
Gotcha.
Don't do this yourself. Like again, like even when we're working with accountants, like they don't even do this stuff anymore, right? Like, cause it's just Gusto and Paychex, it's fairly inexpensive and they're going to do it right most of the time. Like 99.9% of the time, they probably got this right. They can help you with contractors. If you have contractors, they'll help you set up all the right exemptions for your employees and get all that stuff taken care of. But yeah, that's what you need. Yes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And especially if you're in multiple states, right? Like every state's going to be different now. So like these payroll systems will really help you get all that correct.
And so then sign up for liability insurance and workers' comp.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different insurances that you may want to get for yourself. The ones that are required, again, are going to be dependent on your funders and dependent on your state. So typically workers' comp, once you get over a certain number of employees, you're going to need workers' comp. I would get workers' comp anyways once you have one employee. And then you would, professional liability insurance is going to be required. So again, depending on your state, there's going to be a number that you need to get. So talk to your professional liability insurance, but then, you may want general liability insurance, non-owned auto insurance for employees if you're doing in-home, cyber insurance, sexual abuse insurance. I mean, there are a ton of different umbrella for yourself, right? There's a lot of different insurances that can it's not that it's going to mitigate risk. It's just going to assign the risk to somebody else. So instead of it, you being on the hook, you're saying, hey, I'm going to pay you a few dollars and now you take the risk. Right. So, these are things as you grow, you may get more coverage because there's more risk. Right. And I'll spend $500 because I have peace of mind. And maybe you can't spend that $500 at the start because it's just you're not making enough, right? So you just get the minimum amount. But as you grow, you want to talk to your insurance broker and make sure that you have the right limits and coverage for your company based on its size. So, in the ABA Business Leaders Business Masterclass, we talk to some insurance brokers, and they go over the risks involved in ABA, the common risks that they see. So that is, if you do need that additional support, you join the membership.
All right. So the next, creating a professional email domain and HIPAA compliant email calendar system.
Yeah. So like Gmail's going to be you're not going to be myabaclinic@gmail.com. Don't do that. You want to get a URL based on your company, right? We did the LLC and the tax ID. So we have a company name now. When you're creating your company name, you should have like GoDaddy or whatever, Namecheap or whatever domain company you're going to purchase your website from, right? It's like $10 a year or something like that. So as you're coming up with your name, you really want the .com if you can. I've talked to many marketing people and I did all of it wrong. So like, they recommend that you don't.
When we started our company.
Yeah, they recommend don't using dashes in the name. So what did we do? Corner dash piece. That was our website. And then for 3Pi Squared, marketing people say don't use numbers in your name. So because people will get confused. Is it the number 3 or do I type out THREE to get to your website?
That's why for 3Pi Squared you ended up buying both names,
yes,
right?
Yes. So like these are just things that you want, but you want to try and get the URL that matches your company name if at all possible. It's just gonna be easier. And I would also avoid like if Pieces of the Heart, right, is the ABA name that you've decided. I wouldn't go Pieces of the Heart VA for Pieces of the Heart Virginia because Pieces of the Heart is already taken. Like that I would not recommend. Again, more than likely they're not going to remember to put the VA in or the NH in at the end. So like try to come up with a unique name that you can grab the URL from. I wouldn't, at this point when we're talking about names, I'm like, I would avoid the puzzle pieces part of it. I think that has kind of lost its appeal at this point, right? So just come up with something unique and then grab the URL for it if you can.
Yeah, that's something too that I think is easy to overlook when you're creating your name. You'll go and look in what is that thing that you look up to make sure no one else has taken that name as a business, but also checking to see if the website is available.
Yep. Okay, so, and then from that URL, then you can make your professional email, right? We want it HIPAA compliant, right? We need calendars, we need contacts, we need cloud storage, all of that stuff. So the two big ones are going to be Microsoft and Google. And there are some other ones, like we have a sponsorship with InGuard. You get a 5% discount and their email is relatively cheap. I think it's like $5 a user. So if you are like just starting out, it may be fine to use that at the start. And if you need that, just go to our website, 3pi2squared.com and check on our affiliate page and you can get that discount from them. But eventually you're probably going to go with Google or Microsoft. We went with Microsoft, when I had, I don't know, HIPAA security guy. We went through, I was going to get Google and then we would tell him what we wanted to do. And he's like, you're not going to be happy with Google. And so
we recently had
we went with Microsoft.
Some people who reached out and said that they've been able to make Google really work well for them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really is part of it's what some people like to go with what you already know and what, we all have like different needs. So I think that would be something to look at too, is not just like know that there are different options for each ones and kind of know at least an idea of what it is that's important to you within the system.
And they're constantly changing. And they're adding new features all the time, right? The biggest thing when we switched to Microsoft was the systems to secure devices. It was free. It was included in that. I don't know if Google has added that, but just that in itself, you can wipe devices, you can force PIN changes, you can force it so that they can only use certain Wi-Fi. You can force it so that they can only download certain apps. That is very nice features. And I don't believe Google has that. And so that's the biggest one that I know of. But I'm feeling like we're going to try and get a debate on this one, Microsoft versus Google. I think that would be an interesting one, because I'm sure that there are lots of really great things about Google, right? But you're going to need something like that. The other thing that you will need, and again, I believe you can get Google Voice or you could get Teams calling. And I believe both are HIPAA compliant, but this again is something that you need to set up. But you'll need a phone system. And then what I don't believe either one of them have is faxing. And you would think that, it's like almost 2026. Why in the world do I need a fax number? But some funders will be faxing things to you, or you're going to be faxing things to them. This may be treatment plans. It may be like denials and you have to fax them. Sometimes they're going to want you to fax like recoupment audits. So there are going to be some reasons why you're probably going to need a fax number. So our recommendation is faxtone.com, faxtone.com. It's like, I don't know, it's like $5 a month, I think. And then you pay per sheet and it's like pennies for the sheet. So, and then it goes through your email. So you'll email the fax, and you'll receive faxes through your email. And so there's not another app. It's just, it's all set up. They'll sign a business associate agreement. Again, it's super cheap. Now, if you have a large recruitment audit, right, and you're sending out thousands of pages, just know that bill is going to get pretty big, right? And because, even pennies, it's thousands and thousands of pages, it's going to get expensive. So if you can avoid that kind of stuff, maybe you can mail it to them. That may be a better option to do that, or upload it and they can download it through your like online file management system or whatever. But you'll need a fax number.
Yeah, it's fun to watch people's faces in person when we say, "Do you have a fax?"
Yeah. And then one thing on the phone, like I would recommend not using your personal cell phone for this. So again, get a Google Voice number if it's HIPAA compliant, or get a work phone. A lot of phones now, you can have two phone numbers on the same one, right? So you can have an eSIM.
But if you have a work phone, you can lock it in a drawer.
Yes, totally. So those are just things to think about.
But you can
download our
essential list.
Yes.
And a lot of these things are on it. So you might be feeling like, oh, I need to listen to this later when I can write all of this down.
Yes.
And great, but you just know that you can go to our website, 3psquared.com and find the essential list, and these things are on here.
Yep.
Okay, so have
there's one missing on here though. I don't see it. So, but for this one, you want a bank account. So you want a business bank account. You just need one, and you may also want a business credit card. And there are reasons why you may want a credit card. It's a real quick way to get cash if you have a high allowance. Is that what what is it? Limit?
Limit. Oh my gosh, my brain is spilled over.
Hey Dad, can I have an allowance?
So if you make a lot of online purchases and things like that, sometimes the credit card can be a little bit more universal. I think most debit cards really function as a credit card, but like there are multiple reasons why it'd be a great idea to have a credit card along with your bank account. And you can even, some banks, like depending on your region, like there are banks that, you can get like a little deal for getting both at the same time too, right?
Well, what's nice about having the credit cards is that you do then if you have a large limit, you can use this for cash balance transfers. And so if there are delays in insurance, you can then take that as immediate cash into your company, where you're not having to get a business loan or fill out SBA paperwork, and it takes weeks and weeks and weeks to come through. So this, you can get immediate cash. Now, a lot of these balance transfers, they'll have like a promotional period, maybe 12 months, and you pay a small fee, maybe 3 or 4%, to gain access to that money. And just know that after that promotional period, you're going to be paying like 25% interest. We want to avoid that. But if you need like $30,000 because insurance is not coming in, but it's going to eventually, this is a quick way to get payroll paid and then just reimburse your credit card as soon as that money comes in. It can be a very nice way to get fairly cheap cash if needed. And then you'll also need a merchant account, and a lot of business bank accounts have a merchant account. So this is how you're going to collect copays, deductibles, out-of-pocket like all of that stuff, right? From your patients, if you're not like solely Medicaid. So if you're accepting private insurance or doing any private pay, you'll need some way to get like debit or credit cards, more than likely. So just having some kind of a merchant account where your clients can put in their credit card information, and then it will automatically be deducted. You do not want to store credit cards on your account. That's not a good idea. So your merchant account should take care of that for you and have all that set up. And then we also need to make sure your CAQH is updated with your new business information. And then you also want to get an NPI type 2 for your business. And a clearinghouse so that you can manage claims, submit your claims from your practice management. Some practice managements are going to use a certain clearinghouse and it will just get set up, and then others you get to choose. So that's just something that you'll need to consider, is what clearinghouses are you going to use. And something to be aware of on the clearinghouse, some of them do charge fees and some of them don't. So this is just going to depend on your funders. And so you'll want to do some research on that. And that, there are some that have amazing features, right? Like that they'll do secondary automatic claims. They'll do like real-time claim processing. Some of them do have merchant account attached to it, so they'll even take patient payment through it. So, but again, you're going to be paying for these features. So it's just, these are things that you're going to have to research and figure out which one works for you. And then the last thing, that we're not going to get into policies and procedures. We did that on the last podcast, but you do need employment law posters. So you can do a quick Google search for that.
It's something you can just print off.
Yeah. So they do it like you're going to get like a yearly membership. I don't know. It's like $20 or something like that. And then they'll email you and let you know when the posters change so that you can then get the latest posters, print it off, put it on a board or in your online employment system. Talk to your attorney and see, if you're completely online and you don't have an office space, how do I make sure that I'm doing this correctly for my staff to have access to these things? So this is like your FMLA posters, your workers' compensation, accidents at work, all of that stuff. That, minimum wage and that kind of stuff that you just have to have posted. It's just required. So
yeah, when we started out working out of our home and we hired our first few employees, and Steven printed them all out, and then he came to me and he's like, "Where can I put these?" And I was like, "What do you mean, where can you put these?" And I was like, can we just put them in a binder and put them on a shelf? And he said, "No, we have to have them posted."
Yes.
And so we in a common area or something, in a place that, once we moved into a clinic space, we posted them
in the break room,
in the break room, kitchen area on a big bulletin board. But yeah, so that's one of those things that most people just don't realize that you have to do, right? Especially if you're not in the traditional clinic setting or school setting, right? If you're just doing in home and you don't have a common area, then like Stephen said, looking to see what would be the best way for your staff to access that information.
Yeah, I think I remember it's laborposters.com, I think is what we would use. Like I said, I think it's $20 a year, right? You just pay, you set it up, and then they'll email you whenever there's a change to your state's posters, and then you just print them off.
So moving on to segment 2, and this will be not so very, we're kind of coasting downhill now. Because if you've, okay, so first of all, there may be some of you who are already established and in business who may not have completed some of these items.
A DUNS is a really common one that people don't do.
Well, and the labor posters and some small things too. Or, so maybe, we talk about it a lot. It's really important as for ongoing business to put in little self audits and checklists and, making sure that you're still doing these things that you set up to do, to make sure you haven't dropped off along the way, or if you need to update or change things. So the first step would be just to quickly go through the list from our first segment for those starters and quickly, check off all the ones that you've done, or circle the things that you're like, oh, here, let me jot down this. I didn't do this, or I don't even remember if I did this, and then check in on those things first. And then the next step would be to check back in with a few of these to make sure that, they are still working for you right now. For example, if you started out and you were solo provider, one person shop, and then eventually you added a couple techs, and a few years later you added a BCBA and a few more techs, right? Or maybe overnight you grew from 1 employee to 50 employees. We see all of that, right? Yeah. The big thing that we see that gets overlooked is not shifting and changing that stuff as you grow. And that's part of us meeting you where you're at, is because that's exactly why we talk about that, and why we do that is because really those, a lot of people come to us to start, but then there's all these people who've already been, practicing for, running a business for years, and they realize they listen to a podcast and they reach out to us and say, you know what, that thing, I never did it. I had no idea. Thanks for letting me know. I wish I would have known that when, right? So those things fall into this category. But for example, one thing is revisiting your insurance coverage. Is it still adequate? Because right as you grow, and even as you become in network with different payers, that dollar amount of how much it's going to cover and what it's going to cover, will change as you grow, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's typically state driven, right? But if you grow into another state, then you'll need to do that. But as I said in the previous segment, as you grow, you're going to have more risk. You're going to have you have 2 employees versus 200. There's going to be a lot of stupid stuff happening when you got 200 employees, right? And so having more coverage is probably a good idea, right? And so having those, I would say at least annually, conversations with your insurance broker saying, hey, we're doing this now, or we're doing this little thing differently, or we've grown from, 5 to 50 employees. Is there anything else that I should be considering, to protect myself? So again, the last thing you want is to run out of coverage because something horrible happened and now you're on the hook, because you reached your limit and now they're coming after you, right? So and these can be fairly easy and cheap things to get in place. Like I said, an umbrella policy may cost you a couple $100 a year to get, and it adds I don't know, $2 or $3 million of coverage, right? So if something horrible happens, hopefully it doesn't, but if something horrible happens, then they're not coming after your house, right? And so that may be something worth having at least a conversation about, right? And so, yeah, so again, as laws change within your state, making sure that if you do have an LLC, that it's still good, and maybe you do need to switch over to a PLLC. So that's something that I would recommend checking. And then, another thing, again, we talked about this. You should try to use a Gusto or Paycheck, but, depending on how much payroll taxes you're having to pay out, you may now be going from quarterly to monthly to biweekly, right? And again, that's something that you want to make sure that you're paying on time, and just making sure that you're reattesting with your CAQH. All of your providers are. Something else that you're probably going to want to check on is NPIs, especially for techs. I would be getting NPIs for techs at this point anyway. but just making sure that you're keeping up with those requirements based on your state and your funders. Some of them you may not have any choice, and you're going to have to add them to the group just like you would a BCBA. But these are things that I would put in place. And just auditing your clearinghouses and your practice management to make sure, again, that you're not paying unnecessary fees, things like that. Making sure that all your business associate agreements are in place and up to date. You just don't sometimes they will only be valid for a certain amount of time, especially if you're doing smaller BAAs with attorneys or accountants or things like that, where it's not automated. Just making sure that you have a current business associate agreement in place with those people. Checking merchant accounts. Again, this may be something that you want to do. Maybe there's this new system that is easier to use or has lower fees. So that may be something that you want to check into. And then employment posters, as we mentioned in the first segment, this is a yearly thing typically. So just get in a membership and pay it. And then anytime there are changes, they will just email you or notify you of the changes. And then you'll just have to print off the latest employment poster for those things. Right. And a lot of people get stuck in that, right? Just those ongoing little things. It's easy to set it up the first time. It's the maintaining of it that can get really annoying and frustrating. And it's like, dude, I have a million things that I need to worry about. Employment posters is not on that list. So maybe it's your RBT is helping you get those things out, right?
Yeah, I do feel like this is a great thing we didn't talk about during starters. And maybe it's not still, maybe it's still very applicable for this stage. Or for starters, either one. I think that when you're initially setting all of these things up, keeping track of it all, and then even if you didn't do that, then when you're going back through and auditing yourself to make sure you have all of these things and they're up to date and in the best format that's to help you for where you are now in your business. Mm-hmm. I think this could be a great thing to add to what can I delegate? Mm-hmm. Because these are pretty much cut and dry, clear, black and white, just need to touch on it once a year kind of thing, or even every couple of years, honestly, right? If you're not growing at a high rate, right? And it could be something that someone else is keeping track of for you. And then, hey, let me know when there's a change or something needs to be updated and let me know for approval. And then we can talk about it. So for sure.
And then one last thing on there is business licenses. Just make sure you're renewing them. Make sure that,
yeah, you do have to renew business licenses. Now there is a grace period. At least I know for Virginia and Prince William County.
We would always have to pay the fee.
And a late fee. It's just, it's so easy. And that's why I say, as you come up with all of these, I say often, okay, list it out, put the priority, put the frequency of how often you want to check on this thing, and then put it in your calendar. Even if you're putting it in your calendar for 2030, because then that just helps reduce that mental load of keeping up with it. Or this is the thing that you've delegated to someone else to keep up with for you. But then of course you still have to make sure that person that you delegated to is actually keeping up with it.
Yeah. And your LLC or your PLC will probably need to be paid too, right?
Right.
So there are just these normal reoccurring things that will have to be looked at.
Most of the time you get get something in the mail or get an email with a statement to remind you.
It's just super easy to forget. And then, if you do move into a new county and your state does require that you pay county taxes, these are just things that you're going to want to keep up with as you're growing.
And I feel, and I could be wrong. I feel like people, when they are looking at moving into a different state, they know, okay, I've got to research everything for this state to make sure all the things line up. I get that it's not going to be the same in Georgia as it was in South Carolina, right? But it is like even if you're like in a city and then you move outside of the city into the county, like sometimes those get a little bit confusing as far as, am I in the city limits? Am I in the county? Maybe you have like one clinic, like literally 5 minutes down the road, but it's inside of a different like city limit or county limit, whatever, right? Those are the things that sometimes can get overlooked. Well, we've spent 50 minutes talking about, I mean, this, like, seriously, I know we've kind of been joking around about how like dry and boring and blah 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 that this is, but they're necessary and important parts for your business. And you also don't want to be in the situation where you're like, okay, I'm done with this, I'm ready to sell, or I'm ready to to move on, and then the potential buyer comes to you asking all of the questions, and you're like, oh, and now I'm going to have to go dig through all this. Think about your future self when you're ready to sell, and you have, like, I call it selleritis, is like senioritis, right? Like once you get to a certain point where you've like made that adjustment in your head that, okay, this is no longer going to be mine, I'm selling it to someone else. There is this very specific shift that happens a lot of times. Like the last thing you want to do is like dig back through this stuff looking for things. So, your future self will thank you if you just go ahead and you have it all in one document or spreadsheet or whatever, with all of the account numbers and all of the important information and the frequencies of update, and even maybe the amounts that has to be paid. All together, because then you can like be like, oh yeah, I have that file, or I have that file, and then you're like sending it on over for the next person, and you don't have to revisit that. Then you can really focus on some of the other parts of closing the business that you may really want to really have a hand in, right?
Yeah, and I mean, continuity of operation is an important thing to consider anyway, and so a lot of this stuff is going to be in your continuity of operation plan. Like, who are my vendors? Like what if you get, again, like I as an engineer, I would hear this all the time from my supervisors or managers. What if you get hit by a bus? Can somebody else do this if you're not here? And so, like, does anybody know who the electricity bill gets paid to? Does anybody know who your phone system is through?
That's true.
Can anybody log into your payroll account to make changes if you're, so having all of those things on a list so that someone can gain access to them, if needed, this is going to help you when you sell it too, right? And so having all of that listed out. Now, I just want to make sure that everyone's clear. We did not cover policies and procedures in this, right? Like, so these are things that you're going to have to also consider all the time as you're growing. Living documents, they are not set in stone. They do change as you grow, as you move into different states, as you do different things. So, like, HIPAA compliance is something that is just going to be ongoing. You need to audit your systems on a regular basis. You need to redo your risk analysis and risk assessment. We're not getting into those things in here. I just want you to know that this isn't everything, right? This is just the bare minimum stuff to get you up and going. But then, again, making sure that you're paying a payroll very similar to growers, right? Making sure that your payroll systems are in place and that you don't have any lapses there. Making sure that your insurance is in a good place. Again, that you have the right coverages for your the size of your company. Yeah, I mean, those are the biggest things, right? You're going to take care of a lot of this stuff as a grower, right? And then you're going to really want it organized, so that when you're ready to sell it, there's no guesswork. It's like, oh, okay, here's all the stuff, right? And then, because more than likely, especially if you're selling to someone larger, even if you're selling to someone similar, they're probably going to want to use their own practice management, their own clearinghouse, right? They're going to have their own phone system, their own email system. So they're going to want to know your stuff so that they can figure out, can I incorporate it because we're both using the same thing, or am I going to have to switch them out to a new thing? So just having all of that so that they have access to it and it's easy for them to transfer it over, I think is going to be super helpful.
Absolutely. So I realized I skipped over where'd it go? The reflection question. Mm-hmm. So for those of you starters, your reflection question for this week is, which foundational tasks have I been putting off because they feel too small or too tedious or too overwhelming? Let's face it, some of these little tedious small tasks can feel the biggest overwhelm from them, right? And especially if you sit down and you have this application or web form in front of you, it's like, right? So that's your reflection question. And then segment 2 for those growers. So when was the last time that you reviewed your business paperwork, insurance, or registrations for accuracy, and just for where you are in your business at this point?
And just one thing that you should also look at, especially if you're in clinic as you grow, making sure that your occupancy level,
right, for the fire marshal information, right, and then
because you don't want to have too many people in there, right, and maybe it's zoned for 50 people and you got 52, and then they find out, and now your insurance says, oh, you had too many people in there, right? So these are things, again, they're just going to be these little, it's like death by 1,000 pinpricks, you know what I mean? That's kind of what this is like. And having these things in place and like you said, automated or having delegated them to someone that you trust can be very helpful.
Right.
Yep.
So back to the reflection question for those who are transitioning out or selling, the question you would want to ask yourself is, would my administrative setup make sense to a potential buyer or new leader tomorrow, right? Like if I'm passing this over, is it going to make sense to the next person? And then, like Steven said before, this is not everything. This is just a quick list of some of the things, of most of the things, but there are, it's not including the policies and the procedures and the everyday running, but these are the things of getting your business up and going that you need. These things are the backbone of your business, and though quite unexciting, they are steps that protect you and legitimize your company and make what else that you're going to do possible, right? So wherever you are in your journey, whether you're starting, scaling, or transitioning, taking care of the boring stuff now can save you chaos later. So that's like the mantra for today. I don't know if any of you have seen those reels on social media where it's in very much, I've seen them in the ADHD world a lot. It's like, don't set it down, put it away. Mm-hmm. Don't set it down, put it away. Yeah. Right. And we try for that in our home too. Mm-hmm. It's like everything has a home. Everything should go in his home. Right. And then there's always those judgy comments later of, I don't know, did you put it away where it was supposed to go? I kind of think of it a little bit like that. Like some of these things you're excited. You're going to be excited to make your logo. You're going to be excited to put your website together. You're going to be excited to start working on like your clinical plans. You're going to be, especially that first client, you're going to be really pouring all into like really giving them the best service you possibly can, which you should. Yes. And also you should like not set it down, but put it away and get these things knocked out and get them done. Yeah. So closing prompts, reflection. So, what's one unsexy task I could knock off my list this week to make my business stronger? So I invite you to look at that and think through these reflection questions, and not only do it, but then answer your question and then put a little slot into your calendar, schedule yourself to work on at least one of the things that you've identified, or to talk to your team member and delegate that to them and give them a deadline to get it done. All right. Well, guys, this is hard work being an ABA business leader. But you don't have to do it alone. We're here for you. Let's do it together. Join the community, ABA business leaders community. Reach out to us. We have our news, on, live on Monday mornings, and, the news podcast that comes out on Tuesdays. And of course, this podcast, long form podcast, comes out every Thursday. We have, so many resources available. Just reach out to us. We do free consults as well. If you're not quite sure if we're a good fit for you, we'd love to have a conversation with you. It's so super important for us in the ABA field, for all of us professionals to collaborate and work together and help each other out, because it can be a really daunting and lonely job, and you don't have to do it alone. And if you have anything specific that you want to ask us, or a story you want to share, or just kind of let us know where you are in your journey, we'd love to hear from you. We have a podcast hotline, 737-330-1448. So call, press option 1, and leave a message for us, and you might hear yourself on a podcast, or hear your question answered on a podcast.
Yep. And this part of the process, there's a lot of I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, there really is.
And I hopefully, like, this is kind of what this podcast was for, was like kind of filling in some of those holes, right? And hopefully it's asking questions, right? Again, you're asking your accountant, you're asking your attorney, you're asking your HIPAA consultant, you're asking your bookkeeper, right? Like you're say, hey, I just listened to this podcast. What about this and this and that, right? So hopefully it answers some of those questions so that you can ask the questions, so that there are less of those I don't know what I don't know issues. And like I said earlier, like, we can help with almost all of this stuff. So if you need any support at all, please feel free to reach out. And if you are listening to this podcast often, if you don't mind just sharing it, and maybe sharing your favorite episode with some friends on Facebook or whatever else, I don't know.
Whatever you young kids use today.
There you go. And then, rating it, reviewing it is super helpful, so that, we can get out there, a little bit more. So, that's it. That's all I got.
All right, everyone. See you next week.
See ya.